Okay, this is In the Classroom. My name is Benjamin Stewart. In the Classroom is an educational podcast dedicated to making teaching and learning more transparent. Today's topic is curation and what your current workflow is as it relates to curation. Before we talk about curation in greater detail, I want to let you know that if you have any comments or you want to view this broadcast and provide feedback and interact during the live broadcast, we're currently sending this out via Get Vocal. And so feel free to come in, follow me in Get Vocal if you're interested in upcoming broadcasts, or if you want to be a part of the chat, feel free to join Get Vocal and follow me and take part in the live chat. Also, we're broadcasting live via Facebook. This is going out via my Facebook page, facebook.com/In the Classrooms with an S at the end. Also, this is getting pushed out to Periscope, so you can follow me on Twitter at BNLEEZ, and this is also being sent out to my YouTube channel. So feel free to leave comments wherever you find this video if you have any ideas, insights, opinions regarding today's topic, which is curation. So I wanted to talk first a little bit about some of the technologies that I'm currently using. I teach at a BA program in English language teaching, so a lot of the topics that I share relate to education in general, specifically teaching and learning, curriculum, assessment, instruction, a lot of topics related to applied linguistics. These are typically topics that I like to share. Some of the technologies I'm currently using, the first is an RSS feed, which is called Feedly, feedly.com. This is a free app that I use. I like this app because I'm able to organize my feeds by category. So I have categories in applied linguistics, business, education, health, news, OERs, open educational resources, philosophy, publishing, writing, technology. So it's very easy to find different RSS feeds throughout the internet and add them directly to my Feedly account, which I then can access via any mobile device as well as my desktop computer, so that it's very easy to, as I come across these different websites or web pages that I like, I can easily add it to my Feedly account. In conjunction with my Feedly account, I also like to use Buffer. And Buffer simply is an app or service that you can share and send out to different social media sites on a schedule. So the way I have it set up is I have a free account in Buffer where I can post up to 10 hours or 10 posts in the future. And so since I have this set up to send out every hour, I can share or upload up to 10 different posts in advance so that I can continue to share these different websites as I would like through Buffer. So I use Buffer and Feedly together, and I also like to use Digo for highlighting content and that I can access later. So if I want to talk about a particular website or an article, in fact, today's article, I'm using Digo so that I can highlight certain parts of the article that I can go back to later. So today's topic, curation. I, in fact, came across an article today titled, "Why Content Curation is Important in this Microlearning Era." As microlearning is all about delivering only the relevant, concentrated information to learners in bite-sized modules, content curation is essential when creating microlearning. So they talk about different steps required to curate content effectively in microlearning. I am curious, though, if you are curating content, and I would assume that this applies not only to teachers, which is my particular context, but anyone who is a content creator who likes to share information and provide content via YouTube or any other social media site. How do you, what technologies do you use to find the information, and what works for you? This is really the topic of today's discussion. I'm always curious to learn how others are finding information online and then turning that into content. I know there's been a lot of videos on that subject, but I have a particular interest in how educators are going and finding all that information and being able to really filter through all of the different types of information that can be found online, and how can that be accessible in some meaningful way, particularly in the field of education. Because I think if we as teachers can also find a current workflow that works for us, perhaps we're going to be more likely to be able to help learners do something similar. They're also having similar challenges in trying to find information online and make sense of it. What technologies could they use as well? What processes or what workflows would work for them to also achieve the same goal, and to filtering through all the information and being able to use it in some relevant and meaningful way. But going back to this article was posted, in fact, today, January 4th, 2020. And the first thing, basically, this author defines content curation as being defined actually by Josh Bersin, founder of Bersin and Deloitte, as the identification of the most relevant information for a specific group of a target audience that is contextualized and organized before it is presented to them. So this specific group, this target audience, again, thinking in terms of education, is going to be specific to the topics or the subjects that we teach, and the areas that the courses that we teach. The actual objective of the courses that we are facilitating is going to be, or it's basically going to speak to this specific group or this target audience. So the steps to curate content effectively. Effective content curation requires professionals to follow some simple steps. Okay, so the first step that they mention, aggregation of information from multiple sources. This is why I like Feedly, because I'm able to add multiple sources to the feed very easily, and it really brings together all of those different sources into one organized set of information. And I'm able to basically bring all that together. The second point here that she mentions, filtering aggregated content to handpick only the most relevant information for learners. All right, so this is going to depend a lot on the different technologies. I wouldn't say so much that Feedly filters, although it does, aggregate, it brings information together. But I could probably go about filtering or finding other technologies to really filter through based on maybe an algorithm or some automatic way to go through and filter maybe specific keywords to my liking. But definitely in my case, I just go through and browse through some of the different articles. And then if it's something that I feel is worth sharing or even worth pursuing, whether it's talking about it, writing about it, or maybe even it's related to a class that I'm teaching, then I'll make that determination. Another step that is mentioned in this article, chunking the content to give it logical structure to make it easier to comprehend. So depending on the tech that you use, I know Digo is very good at being able to do that. You can create a liner, what they refer to as a liner. Actually, it's outliner. And here you can bring in information and move it around, organize it as you wish. And it's a good tool to use to basically sort information based on the highlights or the text that you've selected. Another step here is to simplify the content to make it easier to understand while adding explanatory content. In Digo, you can add annotations and add different comments to particular text that's been highlighted. Another step here, sharing relevant resources and the content for those who want deeper knowledge. Another step here, creating an archive where the content is stored and can be easily accessed by learners. Okay, so this is something particularly that I think is useful looking at Feedly is that since you can use this on a mobile device as well as Diigo, in fact, it needs to be mobile. So learners, users of the content are able to interact through their the phones for the most part, but mobile devices being very much, I think, a key aspect of any type of content or technologies that one's using. It needs to be accessible at any time via the cell phone or some mobile device. And finally, the last step, making it easier for learners to share feedback. So there should be some way of interacting and being able to engage learners in some way where they can interact with each other as well as the content itself. Now, one of the things that I haven't mentioned so far is for my particular case with my learners, I'm going to be looking at Office 365 and finding ways to integrate Microsoft Teams and Microsoft OneNote and Microsoft Word for those that are taking writing classes with me, and finding ways to bring in the content through those avenues and being able to bring in ideas and ways that students can interact between themselves. Microsoft Teams, I think, is a very good option for many of the learners that I have because they already have an account with Office 365, so they're able to access or have access to these apps already. They can install it on their mobile device and easily jump in with their university account. So this is also a piece of technology that I'll be taking advantage of next semester, going into finding ways to incorporate a task-based learning approach for my learners. But I think integrating the technologies that I use already and how I curate information and bring that information into some meaningful way, and how I can bring that into Office 365 in my particular case, this is going to be my objective, one of the goals that I set out for myself, and we'll see how that goes. Now, one of the things that they mention also in this article, using content curation and micro-learning, let learners take the wheel. I think this is really important in finding ways that our learners can begin to become more independent onto becoming more interdependent in terms of how they access course content. A lot of times, maybe a course book will be used, especially in English language learning. A lot of times students, or teachers rather, will become accustomed to sticking to a textbook and moving along through the textbook, and really losing sight of all the information that's available online, and finding ways to use technology really to have learners access more authentic content in a way that complements maybe what they're already using in the textbook. So it's really finding a way to balance maybe the textbook or the use of the textbook and all the other pieces of information that's available for their particular topic and for their particular course. So I think this is really important in how we go about helping our learners take the wheel, so to speak, becoming more interdependent in how they access the information and interact with the content. Another step, or another point that they make in this article, design your learning portal effectively. Now, the learning portal in my particular case is going to be primarily Microsoft Teams. I think I'm going to be using OneNote in conjunction with Microsoft Teams in ways that the course content will basically be through OneNote, and they'll be able to access both different units and pages based on what we're doing face-to-face. So even though all of my courses are face-to-face, I want to provide an online component so that my learners, who are also English language learners, are able to access the content outside of class as well as during the class in a way that will help them understand the language. So again, we're going to be focusing on problem-based learning and test-based learning, trying to find authentic ways of interacting with the content. But because they are English language learners, I want them to be able to have access to the content, not just face-to-face in the class, in the face-to-face class, but also ways that they can access it. And so I think, outside of the class, I think using Microsoft Teams, Microsoft OneNote, having a document shared with me for those writing assignments where I can also interact with their work via Microsoft Word. I think this will provide a good way of doing that. In addition to that, I also have my website that I'll be sharing a lot of what I do with my learners there as well, so that they can also use that as a source and a way to reflect on what we're doing in class. That's at benjaminlstewart.org. I'll be using that website as well to complement what we're doing in our face-to-face class. So learners will have a lot of options, not necessarily as of requirement that I actually mandate that they use this information, but more as options, additional options that they're aware of, so that they can begin to chart their own path, their own learning trajectory in terms of what works for them as an individual learner. All right, so these are the main points that I wanted to talk about today, and I'm very much interested in how others are curating information and turning that into content that they share. And in terms of as an educator, how you are accessing and finding information, what technologies and workflows work for you in terms of finding information that you either use in your teaching practice, or maybe it's just something that you share and interact with other educators on. I'm curious about how you are using the different technologies and what's working for you and what's not working for you. So I think we'll stop there. I'm going back to Get Vocal here. And if anyone's interested in sharing their thoughts, their perspectives on content curation, feel free to leave comments in Facebook. Reach out to me via Twitter at BNLEEZ. If you find this useful, feel free to check out the show notes. You'll be able to find the article that I talked about today and some other links to different technologies that I mentioned in today's broadcast. You can find that at benjaminlstewart.org. Feel free to check out the show notes dated today, January 4th, 2020. I want to thank everyone for listening. This has been In the Classroom, an educational podcast making teaching and learning more transparent, and we'll see you in the next video.